You just call me Mo. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, I'm gonna kind of introduce you real quick. Everyone, this is Flat Earth Dave, right? And he has this really great app. It's called Flat Earth Clock. What can you say it again? I don't want to get it wrong.
It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, but easier just go to flatearthdave.com and it's right there.
Okay, cool. The reason I'm having Dave on my channel is because Flat Earth is probably one of the strongest reasons that I became Christian. And so it's really important to my faith. Um, Obviously, it's not like the be all end all, like Jesus is that, but it is very important actually because if the earth isn't flat, then the Bible is wrong from the first chapter, right? Because it talks about the firmament and the waters and so on, right? A lot of people, they will kind of get defensive if you tell them about this, and they'll say, oh, well, is this a salvation issue, right? Well, try telling your wife, is doing the dishes a divorce issue, right? And see how long it takes until it actually becomes a divorce issue, right? So yeah, so um Dave is a really big podcaster. I think he's the biggest flat earth advocate in the world. Um yeah, Dave, just introduce yourself, give a little information about how you figured it out and all that.
I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, looking into all the other conspiracies of the world, and I was open minded to anything. And when people started throwing flat Earth at me, I laughed at them. I banned them from our social media. I'm like, you can't even be listening to our podcast. You're so stupid. And I refused to watch even a 1 minute video. But then another researcher, Sophia Smallstorm, who I respect a lot, said, Dave, you got to look into this. And for 2 weeks, I tried to disprove it. I didn't try to find the truth. I tried to disprove it. I was like, it's going to prove the globe and be done with all this nonsense. And that's impossible. You can't do it because the Earth is not a globe. It's a flat level plane. You say a it's not a salvation issue. Well, for one, it led me to God. I was agnostic, atheist, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of embarrassing to say now because I never really thought things through because we live on a globe and Star Wars is real, and you know I just didn't believe any of it. But I want to read you actually a Bible quote, Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen by being understood from what has been made, the earth, so the men are without excuse. So that men are without excuse. So basically, what that's saying is once you see what the flat earth is, you can no longer deny God. And that's the main reason, in my opinion, why they hide the flat earth, because they're hiding God. Because once you can't control people that have a good connection to the creator.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. It's like truth is a salvation issue, right?
Yep.
Right. So like if it's true and you're scared to talk about it or it offends you, Jesus also says, if you're offended by my words in the last day, then I will be offended by you in the last day before the Father, right? So another like kind of biblical connection there. And I just want to give a quick history of my experience with flat Earth, and you might find this actually a little different than what other people might say. Um, on my mom's side, I'm like Russian aristocracy. I'm not going to get like too into it and stuff, but so I had Russian babysitters growing up, right? And I remember a couple of them, not just one, but my first one and my second one. They would kind of say they wouldn't use the word firmament because they were Russian, but they would basically say that like, it's like a dome kind of and all that stuff. And if you look at the Soviet education system, one of the first things they got rid of was teaching about the firmament in the Soviet educational system, right? So I really had like a childlike faith when I was younger, right? But then you start reading like the science books and stuff, the ones that like just get kids about everything. So I started reading that and it said space, infinity, and all this stuff. And I'm like, that just seems kind of depressing. I mean, I didn't have the words for it because I was pretty young, but so you would see the pictures, right? And then you go to school. And here's another kind of interesting thing is I went to like the most elite grammar school in San Francisco, like the city. And so, we would learn, physics, biology, chemistry, and all this stuff. And looking back on it now, I kind of could see who was in the know and who wasn't because when they would talk about, the universe and stuff, there was some kids who would almost like snicker, and then like they kind of knew that like this is kind of like a hoax, and then I would talk about it with them because like I was like more friends with like, the popular kids and stuff, like, and so they'd be like, dude, like, like you're just learning this to like know what everyone else thinks, right? Like this isn't real. And I thought they were crazy, and they just we just kind of like brushed under the table, whatever. And then a few years passed, right? So I'm sort of losing faith, and I wasn't brought up religious. I was in a quasi Catholic school, but it's an elite school. It's not Catholic is just kind of like the mask. But um, then when I got to high school, which was a Jesuit high school, yeah, uh, I uh, I read the Bible for the first time. I can read really fast. That's like my kind of gift from God, is that I read very fast. So I read the whole Bible pretty quickly. And one word stood out to me is firmament because it brought back memories of when I was younger. And I looked it up, and of course it's, the firmament. And then I kind of was let down, like officially, kind of like when you're a kid, you just kind of feel like sad about maybe God's not real or whatever. But now I was more of a grown person because I was like 16. And I felt like a kind of sadness because I'm like, oh, the Bible can't be true because either it's all true or none of it's true, right? Or it doesn't matter if some of it's true. And here we have Psalm 19:1. It says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork, right? And people will say firmament means expanse, which is the opposite of what it means because it's a dome. An expanse is just like a field, it just goes on, right? And so yeah, I read the Bible, and then I started listening to Joe Rogan, and I was doing psychedelics and MMA and all that stuff. It's popular. And then through Joe Rogan, I heard Eddie Bravo talk about it. And like you, I started doing research, and I'm like, hey, like this might be a reason that, hey, maybe God is real, like, because if the earth is flat, I mean, it's like finding a watch on the beach, right? Like the watch didn't evolve there. And then, from Eddie Bravo, Owen Benjamin, and then from Owen Benjamin, I had like a seizure, and like I survived, and I saw an angel, and then it sort of like poured oil in my mouth and like revived me. And then I became born again in that moment. And then I started watching Now You See TV, and I know you had an interview with John Pounders recently, and so that's kind of what sparked this idea to have the interview. Yeah, so that's like my brief history about flat Earth. Yeah.
Fascinating. It's a definitely a journey. You say you find a stopwatch on the beach that proves somebody made it. The fact that we're breathing air proves that there is a dome over us. We have to be contained, and a Big Bang has no explanation for the dome. And then earlier you said that you know it, the if the Earth was a globe, then the Bible is not true. The Bible, I used to laugh at the Bible, but the Bible is probably one of the best science and history books, or the best out there. Do you know what they say man is made from?
Um,
From
Clay.
oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. That's what the Bible says we're made from, right? And where did God get that from? He said he made Adam from the dirt, from the ground, right? And so what's the ground made out of? The ground is made out of the same thing. Calcium, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus, right? And it said, we formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. And then how did he make Eve? Do you remember?
From the rib of Adam.
Yeah. And out of all of our bones, the only one that will regrow itself is a rib.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
fascinating. And then, and just interesting, this just doesn't prove anything. If you look at human skin tones, these are all different tones, which kind of match all different tones of soil.
Yeah.
So how did whoever wrote the Bible, how did they know all that back then? Right?
Yeah, it's impossible.
The inspired word.
It's like the have you seen, I'm sure you've seen it, the graphs of like a lung and like a tree and like a
Yep.
brain, like they all mirror each other. And that's part of the Godhead is obvious throughout all of creation because Like it's like we like in my school we learned Fibonacci numbers in like fifth grade, right? And then we were literally taught that this is proof that there's a creative design, right? But you're not going to get that in public school. No offense, it's just not going to happen. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so and that's by design also. Speaking of design, but yeah, so another one that's like that is have you heard of the stones in the New Jerusalem and how they all reflect like pure light? It's so if you look up in your own time like stones in New Jerusalem and then something light, you'll have this physicist and he's Christian and he'll give like an explanation. He's like, what's interesting about all these rocks is that when you shine a light through them, it becomes a rainbow. And then there's other rocks that are precious, right? But if you shine a light through them, I think it'll either dissipate or it'll just be like a straight white light, like normal. And so every layer in the New Jerusalem is a rock that only shines rainbow light. And so it was like done intentionally.
that's amazing. Yeah, there's one thing in flat Earth is you're never bored. You learn new stuff
Yeah.
every day, and the rabbit hole is just beginning. And I assume you've looked into the old world because that's another
Yeah.
way they hide the flat Earth. They hide creation. Because if we understood what this world was, we'd see that everything's created. Mountains aren't just rocks and hills. They were part of the original creation. And something happened, God induced, man induced, angel induced, natural, I don't know, where the world was, for lack of a better world, destroyed. And we are living in the remnants of a post apocalyptical creation. And, recreating it. Maybe we're recreating it with our minds. Who knows? It's a fascinating journey though.
Yeah, have you heard of the pre-Adamite civilization belief? Like I hold to that as well, but are you familiar with it?
Remind me.
So if you look in Genesis 1:1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then in Genesis 1:2, it basically says in English that and the earth was without form and void.
Yeah.
But in the Hebrew, um, that word for was is really became, right? And then so if we think about that, that kind of makes more sense also because God doesn't make slop, right? And so it's like, and then we never learn about the creation of the angels in the Bible. I mean, we just know God made them, but there's no creation event in the Bible for the angels. And so, and then I've kind of come to this. I actually came to that belief that that must be what it meant before I became a Christian, but I had dismissed the whole Bible, so I never thought about it. And then once I started doing research, I'm like, that makes more sense because if you're saying there's like chaos and slop and God, then it's like there's two things in the beginning. There's chaos and there's God. But the Bible teaches that God makes everything um, good, basically, and that before him there is nothing else. And so basically it's like there's like a pre-Adamite civilization, which you can kind of find writings about that in Mesopotamia and Egypt, where like the gods are on Earth and walking around. And I'm not talking about the giants in Genesis 6. I mean like no humans, like just all that stuff. And so that's kind of that's another thing that I don't know, you might look into or yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, lots to look into.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so like I said, my dad is an engineer and my mom got her degree in biochemistry and she's kind of like a science person. So um, maybe you could just give some like mathematical and scientific proofs for the flat Earth. First off, explain the ship over the horizon thing, which is like so simple to
So
explain.
they haven't realized that the Earth is flat yet.
Yeah, no, my 60-year-old parents have not realized the Earth is flat. But
Not
yeah,
yet.
no offense. I'm just, like, yeah, I mean, they're from San Francisco, it's
Well, we're all the same way. It's as you get older, you're less willing to look at things that are going to change your mind based upon what you think are facts. We're all taught, the Earth is Earth is a globe because we see boats go over the horizon. So you see this boat here. We're zoomed in. You can see that there's water beyond the boat. It's also a very rough day, so the water's not very level. You can see the horizon's literally behind here. And then the question is, where is the real horizon? And this one now, if I zoom out, you can start to see that he's miraging in the water. So there's like a mirror reflection. Well, look what's out here. This is another boat. You can't even tell. And if it goes a little bit farther, you can see it's got the fishing rod, outriggers are up. And so this is just another fishing boat disappearing on the same plane. You would think that this is the horizon, but it's just a boat disappearing into the horizon. As we zoom out, that one's going to disappear, and then that one's going to disappear. Now, I'm not zooming over a curve. They're just going out of our view. Viewing something on the ground, a terrestrial object, a boat, a mountain, whatever, a building, is different than viewing a celestial object. That's something that's above the atmosphere, above the layer, the layer of atmosphere that we see. So that kind of helps again. Now here, I'll just stop this. So this buoy is in the foreground, and these are boats again in the background. Now this looks like sky here, but wait a minute. We could see this boat here, and right here is the mirage line. So you have the boat reflecting down onto this mirage. But if you look, let me go back a little bit. This buoy touching the water is lower than this boat. Even the whole reflection is lower. If the Earth is a globe, everything has to go down and away. No matter where you are, everything in the distance goes down and away. But we see things going up. We see things going up.
Yeah. And then, this kind of really funny. This reminds me of something. When I was in high school, I would talk about the curve of we were just smoking weed on the beach, and basically I said like something like how far is it until you can see the curve of the earth or something. And then like the two kids next to me, one of them was the valedictorian from my high school, by the way. They like looked at each other and they just started laughing. Not because of what I said, but because they're like there is no there is no curve. But
they knew it was flat.
yeah, and then like that's kind of what it was, is like in San Francisco, in the like more higher up, schools and stuff, it's like you're not
You think the
learning.
majority of the kids in those schools know?
No, I would say it's probably like in my grammar school, it would be a lot more, because my grammar school was really like Fortune 5. Like they thought I was poor because my dad's an engineer and my mom works in pharmaceutical sales.
Right.
So imagine that, right? So, I was friends with a kid whose dad was the president of Oracle. I knew another kid who was a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. San Francisco kind of aristocracy, like politicians and company owners and stuff. And then, yeah, so like I would say at my grade school, it would be like almost like 20% maybe of the kids. Like if there's a class of like 50, maybe like 10 would kind of know. And then I think more would have kind of an idea, but I have a metabolic disorder. So when I was younger, it wasn't really treated that well. And so I used to be kind of like dumber than I am now, like a lot dumber. And then the side effect is getting brain damage, like if you eat too much or too little. But now that it's medicated, now like a lot of my memories are kind of coming back. And also I'm a lot smarter now than I used to be. I used to be kind of a doughboy.
Well, you're getting this. So here again, remember, the water's here, and this thing in the distance is above it. It's higher. Now, this part of the top of the ship, that's reflecting in the water. So the reflection line is about halfway in between this white area there. So you're seeing a reflection because of your angle to the surface of the water. It's reflecting the vanilla sky. And when we zoom out, you would just think that is the horizon of the earth if you're a globe believer. But again, the water is higher than the water here. That should never happen. Water should always go down and away, down and away. This is a cruise liner, what's it called? A cruise ship. So what are we seeing here? So is this the horizon of the earth? Well, the horizon's actually up here. This is a reflection And I'll just fast forward real quick, and then I'm going to show you as it comes closer. Just notice you can't even make what these are. I think these are the lifeboats. But as it comes closer, you'll see that the mirage gets cleared up. Whoops, bring it closer, 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 closer. There you go. So the horizon's here, dividing these ships. This is the reflection down and the reflection up. So the horizon is right in the middle of this white area. Yeah. So that's where the reflection is. Now you
Oh,
can see it to
I
start to
see.
resolve itself as it gets closer. Bring it even closer. See if I still have it here. Oops, there it is. So that's what we were seeing. All of that is being reflected. So the horizon's right here in this middle of this white area here. But again, it's reflecting. And because this is higher up, we have a better view of it. So again, Glober's like yelling refraction, refraction. Yeah, things get all convoluted, like I was showing you here. If we look, this is call this light refraction, compression, distortion, miraging. All of that is true. But if something is not in your line of sight, then none of that happens. People like to think, oh, well, it's behind the curve and it's refracting up. Unless you have line of sight,
Oh yeah, that makes
you
sense.
will
Yeah.
never, ever, ever be able to see it. Right. So you can ask a global believer, we got a boat here, a boat in the distance. Well, why is this boat higher? It should be down and away. And you say, is this Earth curving? Oh, yeah, the Earth is curving. There's the horizon. But if we fade this into a hallway, right, we know that a hallway is flat and the boat is just sitting on the floor of the hallway. And then we go back. And it's the same exact thing. Let me show you this one. So this is what I was talking about down and away, right? As you're looking farther, things should be going down and away and not ramping up like we see. This is ramping up, right? So you got the boat out here. Why is the bottom of this boat higher than the bottom of this boat? The water should be going down and away, right? And so same thing with that. And now if I throw a sunset on here, right? The sunset, I just threw a random sunset on here and it follows this exact line. Now, is the sunset curving around the earth or is it just moving into the distance and going beyond the horizon? Right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Sun's just going away, following that same perspective line. Then you say, well, where does the sun go? See this thick, cloudy area here? That's just because you're looking through so much atmosphere and it's all getting compressed due to perspective. When you look up, you're looking through this much atmosphere. But when you look across, you're looking through an infinite amount of atmosphere and it's getting compressed into what we call a horizontal eye zone.
Yeah, and another thing that people say, well, if the Earth's flat, it should always be sunny. But it's kind of like if you go out in the middle of the night and you put a flashlight pointing down, if you go far enough out, like you won't see that either, you know? So that, you know what I mean? Like it's also like just a distance thing. And then back to the map, right?
Right. So what you're referring to is our light is a local light. I have it. Hold on a second. There we go. So we have this light on a wall here. It's just lighting up this area. Well, how come you can't see the rest of the wall? And then the argument is, well, you can still see the light no matter where you are in the dark. True, but in perspective, it'll go beyond the opaque atmosphere. After a short distance, 100 miles maybe, the atmosphere becomes opaque and it looks like it's at your eye level, but it's thousands of feet above your eye level. So yeah, there you go. How's
Thanks.
that? What else do they want to see?
That was good. I don't know what they want. They probably don't want to see this.
They don't want to see it. They're not going to watch this anyway. So, it's hopeless talking to somebody that's not willing to learn. I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof, right? But before you do it, you have to either watch the daily video on my app every day for 2 weeks or go to the frequently asked questions, which is the question mark button, and make sure your whatever you have is not answered here because it probably is.
Yeah. It was
Yep.
funny about Bitcoin is, yeah, sorry, what?
And why the lie is it, I think you mentioned why
Yeah,
the
the
lie.
motive. Yeah,
Yeah,
motive.
the motive, that's the big one. So good. What were you gonna say about Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, like when I was 16, I watched, I forget his name. He's got like a very Greek name. He went on the Joe Rogan show so that would be like 2012 or 2011. And he was talking about Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, I totally get it. It sounds like a great idea. I went to my mom. They had a Bitcoin conference in the Civic Center downtown. And I'm like, hey mom, can I buy like 10 Bitcoins? They're only $25 each. I bet it's such a good investment. She's like, no, what are you talking about? And then now every time it comes up, I never let her forget. I'm like, I'd literally be a millionaire right now.
My son wanted me to let him mine Bitcoin when it was $7. And I looked at the chart. I go, it was $3 a couple of weeks ago. You missed it.
Yeah, yeah. That's alas. Maybe it's
Yeah,
better that I didn't become a millionaire when I was.
probably. Everything
Yeah.
happens for a reason. This game that we're in is definitely 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah, like yeah, so let's talk about the motive a little. Obviously, we both believe that part of the motive is, basically getting rid of God. Like I have a saying that I kind of came up with is that atheism was created for spiritual starvation. The secular worldview was created so that people either buy into it, which is great, right? The devil doesn't care if you believe something wrong as long as you believe something wrong, right? So either you believe it or you kind of believe it, but you're hungry for something more, because it's not enough. Atheism is not enough. You either, you get into spirituality eventually or you become Christian or something, right? And so the plan is they want to starve you of the spirituality so that when the New World Order presents the New World Order religion, right, and all that stuff, that you just buy it hook, line, and sinker because you're like, oh, finally, like answer something more like results and all that stuff.
They need us to believe in outer space and aliens because they won't be able to have their fake alien invasion and have people believe it unless you believe in heliocentrism.
Yeah.
um,
It does away with it right away.
yeah. So just what they did is they took the map of the world and they wrapped it around a ball. Said you're not allowed to go to this white area unsupervised. And they say that this white area is a continent, frozen continent, very harsh on the bottom of a ball, and you can't go there because we don't want to disturb the penguins. So this is your whole world, when in reality, your world might be something completely different. And if you're unable to think beyond this white border, this imaginary border, then your thoughts are limited. We are incredible spiritual beings that have incredible powers. We're at the center of creation. We're in a beautifully created world where our thoughts literally manifest things. But if you stifle someone's ability to think and say this is all that there is, you no longer can even think your way into your full potential.
Yeah, like another thing about the map is that the azimuthal equidistant projection, which is like what you would call the flat Earth map or the UN map, where the North Pole's in the middle and Antarctica's all around,
Yep.
it's the only accurate map. Every map, like the globe, if you buy a globe, I literally went into TJ Maxx so we could go with my wife, and I was looking for it because I knew what to look for. I mean, I wasn't looking for the globe, but I saw them, and I turned it around on the bottom, and sure as day,
For
it says
decorative purposes only, not for
not,
education.
not for educational
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah. Because
They
they don't
tell
want
you
somebody using that and like, oh, I tried to cross the ocean and, we ran with everything and I had to eat my children and, then they'd be sued.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Right. They
yeah,
don't want you knowing, where this place is. And, it gets into much more incredible things. Well, how do ocean currents work? How do airplane flight routes work? Flight routes are actually my favorite. The
yeah. That was one
southern
of the
flight
big ones.
routes. Yeah. So check this out, parents. I'm going to show you two flight routes. This is from New Zealand to Argentina. So the quickest route from New Zealand to Argentina would be, New Zealand's over here, Australia's around the corner. FlightAware says the quickest route's right here, not going over Antarctica. But the flight route goes up across the equator to San Francisco,
The
where you
most
are,
unfortunate city.
and then
Like, but
Houston,
not there. Sorry.
Texas, and
Yeah.
then all the way back down to get to Argentina. Does that make any sense on a globe? No. Think about this. On a globe, if you took any northern airport to any other northern airport, you would never, ever, ever go below the equator to get from one airport to the other. So we got our northern hemisphere on the top, right? and I want to go from here to here, or from here to here, or from here to here. Never would I have to go below the equator to get there. Even if I was going from Mexico near the equator over to mid Africa, I would just come around without going below the equator. And guess what? That makes sense. And no flights at all in the north, going from any northern airport to another northern airport, go below the equator. So the same should be true in the south. From a southern airport to another southern airport, nobody should have to cross the equator like this stupid route. But why do they do that? When you look at it on a flat earth, New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, Argentina, right? Once you see how stupid this is, you're not stupid, it's stupid. And how all the flat earth route, all the routes are actually straight lines on a flat earth. I don't know, is your dad into the World Cup at all, maybe? Remember the World Cup in
No,
Doha?
not really. He's motorbikes.
Well, I'm just saying. They won, they had their own private plane. They just wanted to go back home to Buenos Aires, but they flew to Rome for fuel. Does that make any sense? Why would they? This black line looks equal to or shorter than maybe the red line, but they went there for fuel and then they went home. Look at it on a flat earth map. They stopped there for fuel because they can't get fuel in the middle of the ocean. Another straight line. And then
And
there's emergency landings. The emergency landings absolutely many times prove that the earth is flat because where they land, it makes no sense on a globe, right? This one, they were going from Hong Kong to the UK, but they stopped in Germany 12 hours in because 4 hours in, this mother died. Mom's dead, sitting with her 3 kids and the husband. They left her in the chair the whole time. Dead mother. They didn't land. They'll land if you have a bad stomach ache. Okay. And then they landed. And the reason they didn't land is because if they did, we would have had absolute proof they were flying over Russia. And that makes no sense on a globe. But they were flying in a straight line over Russia.
yeah, and another thing that I researched into, have you seen the channel? It's pretty good. It's called Flat World, Flat Earth or something like that. But I
Sounds
haven't
familiar.
what? Yeah, I haven't seen him post in a while. Yeah. But he was going through NASA documents, like putting them up on the screen, going through them, and then for all the rocketry equations, it literally says assume a flat plane. Because because I mean some of their rockets are real. But so it's like because if you're making like a guess to, fly somewhere and you think it's a ball, like you're gonna end up like in who knows where.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on? Oh, there we go. Um, yeah, there's so many documents where it says it's a flat, non-rotating Earth. All sorts of documents in the Library of Congress, classified documents, FAA documents. There's tons. On my app, if you just go to the search feature and type in documents, I think it'll come up with videos all about that. Documents. Let's see. Search. There we go. These are all 40. This one's 44 documents talking about a flat, non-rotating Earth.
Yeah, I think it was FAA actually now that I
Yeah,
remember. It was FAA, it wasn't NASA.
right.
Yeah.
There's people say, well, how come there's no whistleblowers? An astronaut would have said something. Airline pilots, many, 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 soon a majority of the airline pilots, they know. They now know. There was a Russian astronaut who was asked on a podcast. He wasn't having a great day. He's like, some people say the Earth is flat. What do you think? And he said, I could assure you the Earth is flat. And nobody's been to space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so amazing.
And like, dude, growing up, I don't know about you, but we were all kind of given the impression that like not athletes, astronauts are like these super strong, super smart people, right? And they're the ones, that's why they go to space because they're like, and then you meet or I mean, I've never met one, but like you see them like on TV or on the internet, and it's like, they're a bunch of dorks and like they couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag,
Well,
you know?
think about this. You look at fighter pilots, these are the top shape, top
Yeah,
math,
exactly.
science. They're
Right.
really
Yeah.
fit, smart, well spoken, right? So an astronaut's got to be that or better, right? So a bunch of years ago, NASA was took applications for a new astronaut. There's either 4,000 or 40,000 applicants, right? Let's just go with 4,000, right? And they picked Don Pettit.
Yeah.
Okay. So
What
Don
do you,
Pettit is,
yeah.
I don't want to call him the R word because that's an insult to people that are suffering that affliction. He's
Yeah.
got to be the dumbest guy on the planet, or on the plane, that there is. So again, here's another proof. This one might resonate with a scientific mind. The LoRa transmission is a microwave transmission that requires line of sight. If you were on the other side of a hill with the receiver, I could not send a message to you on the other side of a hill. Right? It's done from a ship, so not that high off the surface, to a buoy. At 10 miles, it should not work because there's 66 feet of curvature. Now you can say, well, it's halfway down and halfway, so there's only 33 feet of curvature. Okay. This thing isn't 33 feet high, and neither is this. It should not be possible. But not only did it do it, it went 800 miles. So 800 miles is 426,000 feet of obstruction. That's like 80 miles of obstruction. And it was able to transmit. That there is undeniable proof that the Earth is not a sphere of the size that they tell us. It would have to be thousands of times bigger. And if that's the case, show me the other continents.
Yeah. And then they go back and forth on what's that zone? I forget, in the high atmosphere where we can't go past, or
The Van Allen belts, Van
yeah, the
Allen
Van
radiation
Allen
belts.
radiation
That's
belts.
that's just because we can't get up in the sky. Nobody's ever up on those rockets. All those rockets are unmanned.
Like, you know
Um,
what? Yeah, sorry.
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
kind of quick on the trigger. I know.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Like, I read a book. You know that redhead who they say shot Osama? Um, Rob O'Neill. I don't know if you heard of
Yeah, yeah.
it. Yeah, but basically, like, I read his book because I used to want to join the military, and I was reading a bunch of different special forces books, and he literally said that one of their jobs is to go into the ocean and retrieve he didn't say satellites, he said rockets, like
Yeah.
NASA rockets. Like, he said that. I'm sure he didn't know what he was saying, but they pick up the rocket they allegedly send to space in
They
the
do, but there's tons and tons of them in there. There's a place called Project Point Nemo. These are spots. They also, most of the stuff launched out of Florida is dropped in the Bermuda Triangle. That's why it's such a myth out there. Oh, don't go there. They don't want boats out there so they can crash their rockets into the water and be unseen. You know what? And if somebody happens to be out there at the wrong time and they happen to see something they shouldn't see, their boat sank in the Bermuda Triangle and no one questions it.
Yeah, I bet there's some other weird stuff
Yeah.
going on there
Yeah.
too. Like, yeah.
Just to show you, the horizon is seen beyond the second rig, but it should be in front of this rig. We shouldn't be able to see the surface of the water from beyond my finger, but we can see it far beyond the second rig. According to globe math, right? Like here, you can only see the water to here. You can't see it beyond it because this is the curve, but we can see it far beyond the physical limitations that a globe would require. Yeah, see, we don't believe the earth is flat. We know it's flat. People that believe it's a globe believe it, but they don't know why. They're literally religious zealot believers because they have no proof. And when you ask them for proof, they go, well, science and physics. Those are
Exactly.
words. That's not proof.
Yeah, because, like,
Show me the
dude,
science.
and they'll fall back maybe on expert testimony, but it's like, dude, the expert is the person who's right, not the person who went to college. You know what I mean? It's like um they've replaced, like, an actual, like, an open priest class with a hidden priest class, which is John's partner David Carrico. He says that scientists are the priests of the New World Order, basically. Because, I mean, so, and we're obviously, guys, like, for those of you who just jump to the far right or to the far left in your conclusion, like, we're not saying all science is 100% wrong. We just make things up. We're saying that science has a proper use, which is discovering reality. And
Well,
this is not reality, it's
when you
basically.
say science, you're the the globalists, the schools, they've hijacked that word, right? They say, oh, this is the science department, but they're doing pseudoscience, right?
Yeah.
Flat earthers actually do science. We actually hold the scientific method, but
That
they
makes
just
sense.
do pseudo nonsensical science.
Yeah, and this is why motive is important because you see a conspiracy, right? And then you're like, well, why would they do that? That's why, you talk about, the Bible and the resources and just keeping people on their little niche area. And then, the thing is like sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. Brain damage stuff, I got knocked out by a bull a
That's
while ago.
that's right. That happens.
Yeah, it
That
does.
there's no one has ever seen a shadow like this pole. Shadow would be taller if they're at the top of a mountain. The sun is setting because the sun would be below the mountain. But no one's ever seen a shadow get taller. We only see shadows stretch out and then fade out. Here we have, I got a light, I'm going away, and you'll see that the shadow almost gets up there and then it kind of just fades out. And here I have one going down. Nobody ever sees a shadow taller than the thing casting the shadow. This is what would be required if the sun was going down. This is what we experience as the sun goes away. It appears to be lower, but it's not.
Yeah. And speaking of the movement of heavenly bodies, can you give a little breakdown of constellations and the North Star and like all that kind of stuff where there's like all the that graphic of the Earth is spinning around the sun, which is spinning around the galaxy, which is spinning, and but somehow, all the constellations are the exact same.
Right. So the heliocentric model says that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. Funny number. And we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour. All of the planets are staying perfectly in lockstep um, with each other. So they're all on a flat plane following the sun around, all going at their own speeds, all making their perfect patterns. They're all on the same plane, chasing this thing at 500,000 miles an hour, which is something that you can't even fathom, right? You and somehow all of the stars never change. We have there's like 30 some odd zodiacs in the south, and there's only 12 or 13 in the on the equator. So there's like, why wouldn't there be the same north and south? Why? It's because there's more room in the outer south. And then these speeds, you can't even fathom what these speeds are. Let me show you. This is NASA's hypersonic sled track. If you look that up, you'll hear it with the sound. It's shocking. Watch. Goes by a Mach 8.6. That's 8.6 times the speed of sound. If you believe in that model I was just showing you, you have to believe that we are orbiting the sun 10 times faster than this. We got a lumpy rock covered with smooth water, covered with air, uncontained, adjacent to a space vacuum. All of that's impossible. Going 10 times faster than this around the sun and 100 times faster than it chasing the sun. But the water never moves. On a perfectly calm morning, you can see lakes like this reflecting mountains, right? But you have to believe that we're spinning, vortexing, swirling, whirling, twirling, moving in 4 different curved trajectories. Well, you don't notice the speed once you're going that speed. We're just used to it. Turning is acceleration. You're on an airplane, you're taking a nap. As soon as that pilot starts turning or descending, you instantly notice it. The tiniest bit. And by the way, you're on an airplane, not an air globe, right?
Yeah, no
Air.
pilot, and no pilot any pilot will tell you they're not constantly dipping down a little bit to get around the globe. That just doesn't happen. No one does that.
I was flying into Mexico, and the pilot said, we're about 125 miles out. We're going to begin our descent, and we'll be there in about 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, let me do a little calculation, right? So so 125, we're 125 miles out. He's got to calculate how many feet per mile he needs to drop to hit the runway. Makes sense. That calculation is a linear flat Earth calculation. The problem is over 125 miles, there's 2 miles of curvature. So using that calculation should put him 2 miles above the airport runway,
Great
but
one.
it's not. So there's some math for you,
Yeah.
right? 3 Bitcoins for one globe. You know what? Parents, I'm talking directly to you now. Come up with one globe proof. I'll give you the 3 Bitcoins. You can give him two, and then he'll stop busting your chops for not letting him buy in at $25. Right? Is that a deal? You promise to stop
So,
busting their chops?
all right, I'll set it to
If,
my.
if if they give you the 2 Bitcoins, will you stop busting their chops?
Yeah, I will. I promise.
At least publicly, you can do it in your head, I guess, because you won't be able to stop.
I'll practice my self-control.
You'll be like, yeah, thanks for the 2 Bitcoins. I would have had 20.
Uh, yeah, so one thing that has kind of come to me is that just like with God, at a certain point, it's the amount of evidence is the evidence itself. And you find out that really we all take everything on faith, So like with the flat earth, right? There's like all these hundreds of proofs and stuff like that. And then it's kind of like, at what point are you just gonna cut your losses? That's kind of how I see it with God. It's like there's all this historical evidence, there's the scientific, the mathematical, there's the conviction that you feel in your spirit, which ironically is the strongest evidence because the world values the facts and figures, but we all know that when push comes to shove, the only fact that matters is how you feel. And so it's like that with the flat earth. It's like you should just kind of be like, okay, like, look, like this isn't nonsense. This isn't like fabrication out of the depths of my imagination. So, like, it's kind of just, why are you wasting your effort believing something that is probably
Well,
not true?
what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. That's what people say, right? I still have to go to school. I still have to go to work on Monday. The truth is, once you know where you don't live, you can stop playing on their ball field and stop playing by their ball field rules, right? There's all sorts of stuff that'll make you keep you healthy. There's all sorts of ways not to play with their control systems, their fiat currency. There's all sorts of energy machines. There's all sorts of abundance that they don't want you to know. Last point, and then we'll kind of wrap it up, is I could take my camera and I could focus on this little girl here, and he'll be out of focus, right? I could focus on him and she'll be out of focus. I can focus beyond an object or before an object. And so that's how focus works. So he'll be in focus, she'll be out of focus, or she'll be in focus and he'll be out of focus. Very simple, right? They'll both be at the same focus when they're both at the same distance. The funny thing is, we can zoom in on the sun, the moon, planets, and they're all at the same focal length. This is supposed to be 400 times farther than this. So I shouldn't be able to focus on the moon and then turn to the sun and keep the camera at the same focal length and have it at the same focus, have it fill the screen the same amount. But we can.
Yeah. Yeah, then, to use a biblical proof because it's a Christian channel, right? So, like, the Bible says that they're the same size, or at least the Book of Enoch says they're the same size, and the Bible makes no
Oh,
distinction about, the sun is like just bajillions of miles, and the moon
they
is
say
this.
the sun's 400 times bigger and 400 times farther, but they're both at the same focal length. That proves they're at the same distance.
Oh, okay.
That proves that they're the same size. It's proof right there. There's no denying it. Well, there is denying it because you're
Yeah.
a glober. You just deny reality, right? So look into that, and then you'll understand that. Then you'll, well, what is the sun? What is the moon? Man, I'd like to know for sure. I think the sun is where our consciousness comes from, and I think the moon delivers our souls. How about that? That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's just like a light. I don't think it's a fiery ball of gas or
No,
something.
definitely not a fireball of gas. But
It's
here
it's a
is the,
heavenly body.
yeah. You're familiar with Crow 777 radio. He's
Oh,
been
yeah.
doing some sun work, um, and this is low resolution. He's got super high resolution. This is the sun, and when you see his full video, this is just a little clip of it. This is a living, conscious, creative energy. It's not a burning ball of gas. right? Crow 777 Radio, CRROW 777.radio.com. Check out his solar work. It is absolutely fabulous. And by the way, his podcast, don't send your kids to college. Just let them listen to Crow. One episode, four old episodes, and one new every week. And they'll have a better education than any college will do for any kid.
Yeah, it's a real high-end science stuff. I've watched some of his things. Yeah,
It's not even that high end. That high end. He does stuff from
compared to
how to have babies, how to stay healthy, how to you know, the earth being flat. I mean, just he does he covers he covers life, how to live in this world, which college does not do.
yeah.
Right. Oh, by the way, if you want to become an orthopedic surgeon, yeah, go get the training. But if you want to try to cure people from cancer or something, there's way better ways to do it. Way better ways than the medical mafia.
Yeah, like, I pretty much say like if you're not going into like a well-paying STEM field or a lawyer or maybe something that needs like a degree, like whether you like it or not, it's just there's no reason to go. You can figure all that
Well,
other
a
stuff.
lawyer, you could ChatGPT is the best lawyer out there right
Yeah,
now. I
yeah.
mean, it's crazy what there's. But what I'm saying is, college was designed when, hey, there's this great MIT professor. He's at MIT, and to learn by him, you got to go to MIT. So you go to MIT to learn by this professor. Now we have the internet. Now we have the internet. You can learn anything anywhere. Doesn't matter. You don't need to do all this. It's all a scam to indoctrinate you further and to keep you broke and struggling so you don't have time to focus on things like we are right here.
Yeah, and like the thing is back in the day, like you said, college was part access to the information, but it was also access to like sort of elite people. And I don't mean that in like the negative way. I mean like back in
Right.
the day, if you went to college, you were probably really smart, really hardworking. Now college is really just adult daycare. You have to go to college, like unless you want to, do construction. I'm not saying that's bad. That's a fun. My best friend is a construction worker, but like you don't need it to learn anymore. You don't need it
Right.
to meet those people.
Absolutely. So all of this information is being hidden from you. I created this app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, to bypass that. If you're new to Flat Earth, brand new, don't believe it, whatever, take my challenge. Every day there's a featured video right here. Watch it for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, you're going to be a flat earther. So get ready. Get ready to, have your life uprooted. I have a biblical section, which I added here. And in it is all sorts of biblical content creators. This is just a general area here. Amazing. This woman, Kay Podge, is fantastic. In the shop. Have you seen her?
Yeah, my wife pulled her up. We watched
Yeah,
some of the videos. Yeah.
she's fantastic. I'm going to be doing several conferences. I'll be speaking in Quartzsite, Arizona on the 7th and 8th and 9th. And that one's amazing. It's called International Truth Expo. Whoops, I want to go this way. And then I also will be at TrutherCon, which is truthercon.com, October 25th and 26th. That's in Texas. And the last one is Anarchapulco, which is 5 or 6 days in Puerto Vallarta,
Oh, wow.
Mexico. And that's in February. And I highly recommend that one if you're looking for a vacation for the whole family or yourself. Just go, and it's all amazing, aware, amazing people. But the app has tons of stuff. The old world is what I wanted to talk about real quick. Have you looked into the old world much? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, a little bit. I see I forget his name. Who's the British guy? The Nephilim clowns.
Oh, the Nephilim Clown guy.
Yeah. I've listened to a lot of his. I mean, I'm not a preterist like he is and like all that stuff, but
Yeah,
the old worlds, like I watched all of the Now You See TV stuff on Tartaria and
yep.
like the Luciferian Empire, etc. And then also like the free energy and all the Tesla technology and like all that. John Levi, I just saw that. Yeah, like
And Levi's good.
Cabbage
There's
Patch.
Lost History of Flat Earth. A quick story about that one. Somebody sent me that. It's 5 hour video, and I'm like, I'm not watching that. 5 hours. Get out of here. Right. And everyone kept sending it to me. And then one night, 11 p.m., I'm cleaning up. And
Oh
I
no.
said, let me just throw this on while I'm cleaning up. 10 minutes later, I'm not cleaning up. Next thing I know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm holding my head, going, what the hell just happened? I went and did my stuff for the day, came back. I watched it again. I watched a 5 hour video twice in one day. Right. That's that one right there, knockout punch. My lunch break. You can find them on Rumble, on BitChute, on YouTube. follow my lunch break. He'll blow your mind. And then you'll walk out in your own hometown. You'll go, how did I miss that my entire life? You'll just walk around, your jaw will be your tongue will be hanging out. You'll be like, how the hell did I miss this? And once you understand the old world, it'll blow your mind. Brand new to Old World, watch Old World Order. That's by Sean Hibbeler, amazing. And there's one other I want to recommend is Our History in a Different View. This guy has done some great jobs on the level of the lost history of flat Earth. Start watching that stuff and have your mind blown. And follow all these people on their channels. You got Instagram, you got TikTok, you got everything's in there. And there's a ton more on the app, including the friend finder, because when you become a flat earther, you no longer can find regular friends. So these are the people that are around me. I can click on any of these dots and look at their profile, send them a message. There's 221,644 people that are using the friend finder or that are using the app right now. And they're everywhere. We look here. Where are you located? What state?
California, SF.
California. So
Well, I'm in
there's
Santa Clara,
lots of people around you.
yeah.
They're everywhere. San Francisco, right?
Well, my parents live in SF, but I live in
Okay.
Santa Clara. I moved when I got married.
All right, there you go. So again, there's flat earthers everywhere, all across the plane, and you can catch up with them. And there's also a dating version on here where you can say, "Hey, I'm interested in somebody between this age within this radius," and bam, you'll be able to scroll between them and start messaging. And people love that. The app is a one-time cost of $3, but if you want to use the profiles, the dating, you want to message other people and a couple of the search features, it's $11 a year. Okay, pretty basic, right?
Yeah, then I want to leave with a last message is that Jesus said that the truth will set you free. And so learning the truth is always a good thing. It's not like you learn what the truth is and your life is ruined and like you're miserable. It's not like a black pill doomsday thing. Like you should be happy when you find the truth because ultimately, like whether it's almost like medicine, like whether it tastes bad, it doesn't matter in the moment because it's to cure you. And so if you seek the truth, um, then you'll find God and you'll find Jesus because Jesus said he is the truth. And so there's no reason to be scared because you think you'll become like a schizo conspiracy theorist or anything. Because like, I mean, like if you kind of look at me, like I'm like a pretty regular sounding and looking guy, and like, like I'm not weird or anything and all that. And so it's like you're not gonna like change because that's the view I had of like conspiracy theory like before I became Christian and all that stuff is that I thought like conspiracy theorists were like essentially crazy. But if you look at the word conspiracy, conspiracy just means breathe together in Latin. Art, my Latin teacher in grammar school taught me that. So it breathe together is what conspiracy means. And so if you deny conspiracy, you're actually just denying that people plot and they try to make things happen. And anyone with any life experience knows that people do conspire. And so if you again believe the Bible, then you believe Satan, an invisible, super powerful, super intelligent, super evil being who's trying to deceive everyone, exists, right? So why wouldn't there be an equal or greater, not greater, but why wouldn't there be an equal conspiracy to that fact, right? Because you believe God, you believe Jesus, right? So you believe that the world systems are trying to hide the existence of the resurrection and the Bible, so forth, or their veracity rather. So doesn't it make sense that it goes a little further than just that? Right.
100%. And a lot of people, when they learn the truth of all of these things, it's overwhelming and they do get depressed. But just for a short, they get upset. They're like, how come my whole life I've been fooled, right? And some people get angry for a minute, a day, a month, right? But eventually it's up to them. When you're upset, it's you are upset. Nothing else is doing it other than you. But if you go to any of them, would you rather take the blue pill and go back into the matrix and not know any of this? And nobody ever says yes, because it's amazing to know the lie and learn the truth,
Yeah.
right? So,
And like,
so the only thing to fear is fear itself. Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yeah, the only fear you should have is of God, because don't fear the guy who can only kill you. Fear the person who can kill you and send you to hell. That's
Well,
what the
don't
Bible says.
I say the most dangerous thing in the world is your own mind.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is knowing facts about what is true isn't going to solve like a sin issue. Because I know a guy, is my best friend's cousin, right? He knows the earth is flat. He knows about the giants and all this stuff, right? But you know what? Alcohol, strip club, like he knows it. So at the end of the day, like even just facts about what is true are not enough. Like you actually need to be spiritually transformed. And I think that's good for now. All right. How was that, Dave?
That's
Or
very good. I'll end with truth is simple, lies are complicated.
yeah, that's a
The
good one.
truth makes you strong, lies make you weak. Seek and find the truth. Right?
Amen. Yeah.
Ask questions, think independently, follow the facts, and
Yeah.
not the beliefs and opinions of other people or the masses. So that comes from my friend Aloha from Florida on TikTok. Follow him, and it's the truth. Once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. So there you go.
It
Thanks.
speaks for itself. The truth speaks for itself, and always ask yourself when looking for the truth, what if the other side is true, right? And what would that mean? Not just what if it's true, what would that
Right.
mean? What would have to happen, right? Deductive reasoning.
I don't believe the earth is flat. I know it's flat. FlatEarthDave.com. Follow the information there. If you don't want to get the app or anything, just scroll down. It says crash course. Click that. I challenge you to watch the first 5 videos and not become a flat earther.
Well said. Hey, that was a great show, man. Thank you very much for that.
All right. Thanks. Send me a link when you put it up and I'll share it. All right.
Through the email that it's
Yeah,
sent
that's good.
is
That's fine. Yeah. When are you going to post it?
right now, probably.
All right. Send me a link when it's up and I'll share it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. God bless. Have a good day.
All right. God bless. See you.